Girls Aloud, biology on Sunday Live, and quite appropriate because it's biology. Now we're going to talk psychology and things like that. I've got Lucinda and Carl here, who are the Adolescent Support Clinic. You've been going about 18 months, haven't you, based in Southend. What made you start, and tell us a bit about what you do?
What made us start? I went to Carl because we recognise a dearth of support for young people in Southend, and both Carl and I in our training, it seemed that our colleagues were very fearful of working with young people, and we couldn't understand why, and so that's why I went to Carl with the idea, and he was really up for it. And so
there's so many people waiting on lists, it seems, young people waiting on lists to be seen, and a week in the life of a young child is a long time, so we wanted something that was more easily accessible now, rather than having to wait in the system to be seen. So you are basically specialists for counselling for young people,
yes,
then?
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
So you work with, I'm just sort of looking here, age 11 to 25. That's quite a big gap with some stuff going on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We extended it to 25 because you've got a lot of the uni students, college students who are away from home and still need support. So it might seem quite an old age in terms of teenage years, but we felt that students being away from home still had concerns, still had needed support that we could give. So that's why we've extended the age range to 25.
We also do a lot of work with fostering agencies, and we also see some of the carers who are older. So though we specialise in youth, we do see adults as well. So some of the carers we see, it takes in all. You've got the foster children and the foster carers, so it gives us a wider sort of client base, And
the whole family environment, really. We've got to cater for the whole needs of the family, really.
Yeah, I suppose so, because some of the issues you're dealing with, you're dealing with self-harm, depression, eating disorders. It is always about looking at the causes as well as the symptom. And if a child is doing something like, an eating disorder, it could be because of something in the family environment causing it.
Absolutely. And also, if somebody's ill and unwell and having difficulties in the family, that's going to impact on everybody else. So we do a lot of family mediation and try to get positive communication. I think oftentimes that's all that's needed is a way to open up a dialogue between people in the family and get them some positive communication going on, because often there's lots of high stress and people are attacking each other, and so our job is to get some more positive communication going amongst family members.
I think this is something we've seen a rise in since we've started doing it. Sort of family related issues is really something that's on the up. Young
Definitely.
people with things going on in the home, that is definitely something that I've noticed an increase in since I've been doing it, definitely.
Do you think it's something to do with the economic climate we're living in, that people are just more stressed, so that carries through the family?
I think culture has really changed from when Carl and I were at school. School now recognises that you've got a home and school partnership. We were talking about this the other day, and there's so much pressure now on young people. I mean, I was in my 30s before I knew what I wanted to do, and young people at 12 have got to start thinking about what they might do when they leave school, and all these targets, and I think it's just a different world now, and there's so much pressure.
We've got this kind of cult of celebrity thing as well, where there's a lot more emphasis on body image and being cool, and and there's a big emphasis, I think, on purchasing, on buying things, having money, having a big telly, having a big car. I know it's nice to have things, but I think it's who you are that's important, the most important thing, and I think those pressures have really increased as time's gone on.
Yeah.
Do you think people are finding it easier to reach out and get help these days than maybe they once used to be? There was a stigma almost attached to asking for help.
We're trying to break that down, aren't we?
I think that's still there to a degree. I do think that people say, well, I don't want to admit that I need help. I think it's better than it was, say 10 years ago, but I do think that that's still a part of it. Yeah.
And it's very, very difficult, it seems, for a lot of parents to admit their children need help. That's even harder, it seems, for some of them to actually recognise. That's a hard thing, I think, to know. you know, and I think that they're finding that very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, because I think oftentimes they think it reflects on them as parents, and that's not the case. You know,
I think they attach failure to it, which isn't the case.
Judgments and blame just really don't help. Our job is to get the whole family to communicate and look at what's going to help them and support them. It's certainly not to judge or to blame anybody. I don't think that's helpful at all, but certainly some parents feel that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, we'll talk more in a moment. Let's have a little bit of music from Savage Garden, and we'll touch a bit more on some of the areas and things that you've been up to. So Lucinda and Carl for the moment. Here's Savage Garden. The wonderful Savage Garden. We've got Lucinda and Carl in the studio this morning chatting to us from the Adolescent Support Clinic. Been going about 18 months, based in Clarence Street in Southend. And we're talking before, obviously you specialise in counselling for young people working with 11 to 25-year-olds. And we were talking just a little bit more before about the stigma almost of asking and reaching out for help, and it is getting better. I mean, and we were just sort of saying off air, I mean, obviously when I was younger I had to have some therapy from bulimia, and for years I was absolutely terrified about talking about it, just because it's almost you're a bit embarrassed about it. What message do you have to people who are listening now and thinking, ooh, maybe I need to get some help?
Yeah, suffering in silence is such a miserable thing. It's so isolating, and really just not to feel shameful, not to feel embarrassed, because that's what we're there for, and it's not about judgments, it really isn't. We get that a lot. People think that we're sitting there thinking all sorts of things and making mental notes, and it's really not the case at all. For anybody to sit there worrying and feel really alone with their issue is very sad. So yeah, we would really want to encourage people to reach out, definitely.
Yeah, some people apply a sense of kind of failure to it, and life throws a lot of things at you, and we all go through different things and have different traumas in our life, and there's no shame attached to it. And in America it's been much more open for a number of years. I mean, everybody, they've talked about therapy going back to the 70s, and it's just breaking down that stigma is so important. People can understand if you say, I've broken my arm, or if you say I've got cancer, they can handle that. If you say I've got mental health issues, whoa, it's a different thing, and that's a big scary subject. Yeah.
So it's really good you're working with younger people, just to getting them in the right mindset about these things to set them up for life.
Well,
really,
if you start early, you see, and you get these problems early, it stands to reason that person's not going to carry these problems through to adult life. And I think if we look at society, there's a lot of anger going on, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in society, and I think a lot of this is because the problems haven't been sorted early. So I think it's so important. I mean, it's like that song, isn't it? Children are the future. But they are.
Corny but true.
Corny but true. And they are. And if you can get those problems early, you're going to have less maladjusted people in society later on.
And I really think we need to invest in that. We do need to invest in our young people, and when there's cuts and funding's withdrawn, it seems that's the area that first suffers, and that's so short-sighted. So
definitely. The government generally, I think, have got to do a lot more with youth, invest a lot more in youth. If they want these problems we see around us to decrease, you've got to start getting things early, start dealing with problems early.
Well, exactly. I mean, it could probably, the later problems that we have with crime and disorder and things like that could probably be tackled if you tackled the problems with the kids.
It would definitely take a chunk out of it. I'm not saying it would solve it completely, but it would definitely take a chunk out of some of the things we're seeing going on around us, definitely.
I think there's a really basic fundamental point, and that is that everybody wants a chance to tell their story. Everybody wants to feel listened to and really heard, and it's such a simple thing, but I think that's really powerful. And when you get young people maybe vandalism or breaking the law, I think that's a communication, and I want to know why that's happening. I'm interested in hearing what's going on behind that, and it's such a simple thing but really, really important.
A lot of those things that young people do are showing out. It's a cry for attention. When you go and break a window or something, that's like flying a flag. Look at me.
Yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry. Yeah. Well, why are you angry? I want to know. I want to see if I can help you with that.
Definitely.
So you're based in Southend, but you were saying you do travel all over to see clients, and clients come from all over Essex to see you.
Well, they travel to us. We go far afield to talk to people. Like, we've gone into a lot of schools and doctors' surgeries to speak to people, but generally the clients do have to come to us because of the logistics of it.
Sure,
really.
Sure.
You know, I do go into one school, but generally the clients do sort of come to us. Yeah.
We can take a group programme in where we're working with a group of kids. That's fine, but logistically, as Carl says, you know, for one-to-one sessions, people need to be able to travel to us, but we'll accept people from anywhere. If they're willing to travel, we're willing to see them.
Fantastic. Yeah. If people want to find out more, have you got a website they can check out for more information?
It's www.adolescentsupportclinic.co.uk.
.co.uk.
I've got it written down here. That's your website, Carl.
You see that, you know, the business side of things.
He's into people, not computers.
Yeah, that's right.
It's early Sunday morning. I'll let you off.
That's right. I'm not awake yet.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming on and talking to us this Sunday morning. And we'll have a bit of music now from an Essex girl, Pixie Lott.
Thanks,
guys.
Cheers.